Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you're having a really good day so far. This is a brief video about my top 5 favorite sweaters I am very excited to wear this fall. If you have been following me here on YouTube, you might know that I love to create garments. I love to spin yarn to knit into garments, and I have acquired a little bit of a sweater stash, and over time, because I wear my sweaters as much as I possibly can, some of them wear out, some of them no longer fit as well as I hoped they did when I started making them, and we're not going to go into those stories. Maybe that's some video content for another day. You can let me know if you're interested in that, but I generally try to keep things positive and uplifting here, and there's no need to go into the projects that were not what we anticipate, because there's so many variables when you're making your own clothes. The pairing of the pattern with the materials used, the tension and gauge acquired by the hands of the maker, all of these things play a part in the outcome of knitting. And I want to share with you my successes, the things I am most proud of. To be honest, I am proud of some of the garments that I've made, but I want to share with you the patterns and the designs, the sweaters that I've made that I am the most excited to wear this fall. It is the heat of summer right now in 2021. We are in August, and there's really nothing to wear that's related to knitwear. And I'm trying to get all the things that I'm finished making, and I'm waiting to hold off on starting new projects. So I thought the best thing to do would be to pull out the sweaters that I've already made that I'm super excited about, and I want to share them with you all in case you're interested in seeing them without watching my entire backlog of podcast videos. But if you're interested in more content, I do record a weekly podcast. I try to upload as consistently as possible. And if you want more of that, just subscribe so that you know when those are out. I'm going to get into the sweaters. Now I'm just going to start with pullovers and then cardigans. They're not in a particular order. The first will be this one. It's a design by Caitlin Hunter. And I knit this with my own hand spun. This is fiber that I combed and spun into a 2-ply that I then knit up with some modifications. I have a whole video on this sweater, so I won't go into all the details, but I did make it a long sleeve. I extended the cable motifs, and I chose a stockinette for the body with the eyelet patterns between the 2 cables that I ran down the length of the sleeve. I'm going to run and throw this on so you can see how it fits. I'll be right back. One of the reasons why I am really excited to wear this sweater this fall is that the modifications I made to this pattern make it fit very well. I don't only love to make garments for the sake of making them. I like it when the clothes I wear fit. And when I was knitting the sweater, I was playing a game of yarn chicken with the yardage I had spun to knit, and I was afraid I would run out. So what I did was I added decreases down the sides. I decreased, I think, every 4 rows. So I did a decrease round, and then I knit 3 rounds flat, and then I decreased again from pretty much the armpit all the way down the length of this cropped sweater. What that did was it brought it in so that it's somewhat fitted. It's not super loose. I wonder if I can get a little higher here for you. So that's how the waist appears. And I think that that modification was a good one for this particular design. I think that I knit the size small, and I don't know how many stitches I ended up with, but I just kept trying it on as I worked the design, and I'm really happy with the outcome. I think it'll fit well with high-waisted jeans or skirts because it is not too wide at the bottom half of the garment. Sometimes wider sweaters, they just get too bulky underneath more fitted skirts that they're tucked into. So I'm really excited to wear this sweater with almost anything I can think of. The next sweater I am excited to wear this fall is a design by Andrea Mowry. It is the Wool and Honey sweater, and this is my most recent finished sweater, I think, one of the two, and they're both in this video. So this is one I also modified just slightly in a very similar fashion. I added decreasing from about the elbow down. I think that I decreased every third row or so on both sides of the center seam. And I also decreased the body of this garment as well, so it would be just a little bit more narrow. I'll pick back up on my chair to show you the waist, but that is how it fits along the back and the sides, and I'm really happy with this sweater. It fits really well, and I think it's one that's going to continue to fit well year over year. Some sweaters that I've made will start to felt in the armpit, and they no longer fit as much as I liked the way they did before. So I'm kind of retiring some of my sweaters finally and making more new, fresh ones that I'm excited about. So the thing again that I love about this is that the armpit is much lower than a lot of my other sweaters. It's not like a swancho or anything. It's just that it doesn't touch my sweaty, messy pits. It just sits a little bit lower and it's a little bit more relaxed, but adding that decreased shaping gives it a little bit more shape than I think the original pattern is written, which is fine. I love Andrea's designs. This yoke is insanely brilliant, as was Caitlin's that I just showed you, that Caitlin Hunter design. And I'm really excited to wear this sweater this fall. One of my more recent finished objects is this sweater by Isabel Kramer. It is a top-down yoke, and I want to stand up on my chair again to show you the waist, but my cat has occupied it. There she goes. All right, so you can see it is not really with a lot of shaping. It's pretty much straight down, but the color work at the bottom does pull it in a little bit. So that alone has a similar impact as decreasing would. It just hugs it in ever so slightly, and I think it looks rather nice, very polished and neat. I think that I followed the instructions. Actually, I modified the sleeves slightly by, I think, decreasing at a different rate. I think I wanted a more relaxed fit through the sleeves, and so it is like looser and more relaxed. I didn't want a fitted forearm sweater. I wanted one that would look kind of like a, sort of like a boyfriend sweater, something that just you kind of pull the elbows up on. And that's another thing too about elbows is when I make sweaters and then I wear sweaters, they become a very different shape than they originally were. So when I've been wearing a sweater, it takes the form of my body and the way that it moves, and if it doesn't felt in the armpits like I mentioned, it will kind of expand in the area of the elbow. And so as the sleeve expands sort of horizontally, it will shrink somewhat vertically. And so when I make new sweaters, now that I've learned that and I make new sweaters, I add at least 2 inches to the length of the sleeve, unless it's noted somewhere that, you know, it's a long sleeve. I generally try on most things anyway. But even if I were doing a bottom up sleeve, I'd probably add that yardage because I do want my sleeves to fit to the edge of the wrist, and I do want to have it fit that way over time. What tends to happen is some sweaters, they suddenly become kind of like a bracelet length or whatever you may call that. And because I wanted this to look really casual, I made them a little longer. I think in retrospect, I might have either used a slightly larger needle for the sleeves, because you can see right now, I don't know if you can tell, and this is kind of common, and I'm finding a way to correct this now in my knitting, but you can kind of tell where I stopped knitting the yoke and split for the sleeves, and then where I picked up the sleeve to knit. And I think because I use the 9-inch circular needles, I might knit at a tighter gauge on the same size than I would if I were on a bigger circumference interchangeable needle cord. So the next time I might just immediately go up a needle size so that I don't have that kind of, what do you say? This is like there's just this imperfection here where it's not the most smooth transition. I can sense that the gauge is different in the sleeve than in the yoke. And it does hug my bicep. I like to think that I'm like strong, but I feel like my muscles are like kind of flexing through this fabric. So maybe I will block this sweater out to kind of take up a little length and stretch out horizontally here through the upper arm so that, you know, the sleeves are just more comfortable. I have not yet worn this sweater. I've knit this like months ago and there just hasn't been the weather to wear it. So this is a brand new sweater in my wardrobe. It's unbelievable. When you start knitting your own garments, you just have new stuff pile up before your eyes. And when you finally get the chance to wear it, it's so rewarding. And I'm very much in love with this. I think it's gonna be, I mean, hard for me not to wear this daily. It is my hand spun. I don't know if I mentioned that. This is a hand comb 2-ply wool yarn. I believe it was a Cormo crossbreed. And then the chocolate like yoke color is a natural merino sheep fleece. I have a ton of this fleece left. Brian, my spouse, wishes that I would hand spin him a sweater. I said maybe. It's a lot to ask someone to knit you a black sweater. I've already done that, and I guess I'll knit him another black sweater, but to hand spin it, it's gonna take some time. I need to prepare myself for that. So maybe that'll be my next sweater spin. It's hard to know how much you need for someone else's body. I know about how much yarn I need for a sweater my size, and I also know I can make it cropped. I can make it a short sleeve, quarter length sleeve. I could add decreases and make it fit my form just enough that I have enough yardage. But when you're talking about knitting a men's sweater for some other body that isn't going to try it on throughout the entire process, that requires more yardage than you probably need. And when you're a spinner, how often are you spinning more yardage than you ever need for a given project? I feel like it's pulling teeth just to get the amount that's necessary, let alone what is needed. So we'll see about that. But I'm off subject now. I have 2 cardigans to share with you, and then we're gonna wrap this up because, again, it's July, I'm getting hot, and I have to layer somehow cardigans over top of something. So I'll show you that next. The next sweater I am super excited to wear this fall is a favorite of mine. I've never worn it over color work before, but this is Marie Wallen's Yell cardigan. I knit it mostly with Biche and Bouche, as well as Rauma's Finial Garn for the main colors, and then Jamieson and Smith throughout. Love Jamieson and Smith. And this is a favorite cardigan of mine, mostly because one, it's gorgeous, but I also don't have enough cardigans. I could never have enough cardigans, and that's what I'm mostly devoted to making in the next few seasons, I hope. But I digress. There is one thing I wish I could do differently with this garment, and if I had the motivation and time, I would knit this button band without buttons to be double-sided, and basically, you know, pick up these stitches, knit maybe some stockinette, and then tack it down on the inside so that it doesn't roll like you'll see that it does. It tends to roll a little bit. And that, I don't know, I mean, I blocked it, I've ironed it out many times. There's only so much I can do to keep it from happening, and it's just gonna continue to happen. But I figured, you know, it's gorgeous enough as it is. I modified the sleeves as well for simplicity. I simply didn't decrease at all, and I knew that would give me this kind of retro vintage kind of bell sleeve hippie sort of look, and it was just easier to not decrease and to just keep doing the same motifs that I'd done for the bottom band. So this is another favorite. I can, as you see, layer it over sweaters. It fits just right. And this is a gorgeous pattern, totally worth the time and energy The short rows I modified as well, just to make them, I'm a little obsessive about how I execute things sometimes, and so I wanted to make sure that the motifs were almost like symmetrical from side to side, but I don't know if you can tell. It's very subtle. Anyway, one more sweater. The last sweater I am excited to wear this fall is actually a design of my own. I just had to throw myself in with the greats like Andrea Mowry, Caitlin Hunter, Isabel Kramer, Marie Wallen. They're like great legendary knitwear designers, and I am just me myself, but I love this cardigan. It is one of my few cardigans that I should probably make another one. I'd have a hard time not modifying it and then feeling like I need to publish a new version of the pattern just to include all the changes I made. But it is a really interesting collar. I like that a lot about it. And I love the motifs on the front, and the back is really the stunner of this design. It's this gorgeous pattern. And in retrospect, I think I wish I repeated some version of that on the front. Instead, I chose the globe braid motif that I featured in a bra design, because that was kind of the original inspiration, and then finding this one, that really stole the show. So maybe there's other designs I can incorporate this gorgeous pattern motif into, but this is another great. I knit it with Harrisville Designs Watershed yarn. Watershed yarn is kind of like a heavier worsted weight. It's almost Aran, but it has a lot of air, so it's very light, and lightweight yarn makes for great cables, in my opinion. It keeps the garment nice and light, and it'll kind of fill out the areas that are tugged and pulled, but it also won't become really heavy and like too much yarn to wear, because it eats up so much yardage. You want some of that additional yardage to be air. Better more air than not, because otherwise you're carrying around a 5-pound sweater at the end of the day. But that's just my thoughts. I would love to know what your opinion is of any of these designs or yarns used in the making of these sweaters, or my modifications. I hope that my notes and thoughts rather are helpful to you. That's why I make these videos. I really enjoy spending time online, getting to know other makers and knitters out there, because it is such a niche thing. I don't think there's enough of us yet, and we need to just keep the dream alive and keep inspiring people to make gorgeous things. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to find me on social media, my name is Taylor E. Owen. You can find me on Ravelry, Instagram, or Twitter as Taylor E. Owen. I'm also on TikTok a little bit. My name there is Taylor Knits. And again, I want to thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and take care.